What's up, everyone? This is Kronos, aka Adam, back with my AEW Double or Nothing recap and review. So last night, the pay-per-view happened. I think it was really good. I actually had a really tough time watching it with my cable provider. For some reason, it wouldn't allow me to watch it on time. And then when I went to reset my box, it took too long, so I called Spectrum Cable. This is on U Spectrum. And, not only did I not start it up until halfway through the Casino Ladder match, but they only put it up on SD instead of HD when I definitely ordered HD. And then they somehow, on their own, were able to force the HD version onto my TV, which was great. But when I went to rewatch it today to take some notes, I only had the SD version, and also I missed the first half hour again. It was a nightmare, and then when they finally did push it to the HD version, I was spoiled by the mystery competitor was already in the ring. Needless to say, that was kind of annoying to start the day off with, but luckily I had a little bit of the bubbly with me, and so it ended up being a good night. So as always, my social media stuff is there. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff, and I'm going to try and go through as much as I can, basically from memory and from notes that I took, and yeah, so that's it. So we're gonna get started. Let's jump right in. So first we had the buy-in. So the buy-in is their kickoff show where we had one match, which was which was Private Party versus Best Friends for the number one contendership for the tag team titles. Even before that, though, we actually had a Jake and Lance. They were warming up, or well, Lance was warming up by doing some demolition with a sledgehammer at some abandoned house. And Jake actually had a really cool shirt. It was an Oakland Raiders shirt, but it was Jake the Snake. I don't know if that was on purpose because of the fact of the affiliation with the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was just a shirt that he had made. Who knows? But it looked pretty cool. So we did have the first match. So we had Private Party versus Best Friends. I thought it was a really good match. So we had some kip-ups to start by Cassie, kind of doing him in succession, showing his athleticism. Trent with some big chops on Quinn. Cassie and Chuck double standing sliced bread on their respective opponent. It's pretty cool. Trent apparently loses his headband. He's got a really wild hairline, but he eventually gets it back on. Private Party goes for a silly string. They botch it, though. It looked pretty bad. I don't know if it was maybe Trent legs gave out or what happened, but it almost looked like a face plant as opposed to like a DDT. He loses his headband again. He gets sent into the barricade on the outside by Cassidy, but then he comes back with a spear. Quinn hits a tope con hero on Trent with Trent's headband on. Best Friends go for a Doomsday superplex on Quinn. And Cassidy gets the hot tag, takes out Best Friends. Hits a moonsault off the turnbuckle on the outside to Chuck. He does a springboard flatliner back into the ring on Trent for a 2 count. They then do a double team stomp on Trent for a 2 count. Then Trent gets some back-to-back Cyto suplexes. We have Cassidy with a back body drop. Cassidy gets back body dropped onto Quinn in the corner by Chuck. We get the half and half soul food combination with the hug. Obviously the big pan out. Got to give the people what they want. We got a standing shooting star press by Quinn onto Trent while Trent was kind of being held by Cassidy. It was actually really athletic and really cool. Then we get some sloppiness, with Private Party and Chuck. They were kind of figuring out what to do, but they end up hitting a G9, which is the finishing move for Crime Time. Obviously, R.I.P. to Shad Gaspar. So they were doing kind of like a tribute to him by using that move. We then get a shooting star press by Quinn onto Trent, but Chuck breaks up the count. He hits a pile driver on Quinn on the outside and super kicks Cassidy. They go for a gin and juice, but it gets countered. Eventually, the Best Friends hit the strong zero for the win, so they are the number one contenders now for the tag team title. Much deserved. I mean, they were the number one ranked, so it just makes sense. Trent and Kenny actually had a really good match on Dynamite a few weeks ago, so this will be kind of like another extension of that. So it'll be really interesting to see what they go from there. So then we get an interview with Arn, and then they do a Moxley Brody promo, and then we get to the main card. So we start out with the Casino Ladder match, and as I explained, I missed the first half hour of it. It's pretty frustrating. So I'm just going to go by what I see here. courtesy of WrestleLink. They give some great stuff, that website. So if you're ever looking for kind of like a breakdown just to read, obviously if you're not watching my videos. So WrestleLink is pretty good about that. So we get quick promos by everyone, all the competitors first. We get Kaz and Sky starting at 1 and 2. They decide to not go for the ladders and just have like a legit wrestling match. They could have easily done some kind of shenanigans and just have one of them win, and this would have been over, but they're competitors, so they wanted that to happen. We get Kip Sabian coming in at 3, but then he's joined by Havoc, Jimmy Havoc, who's just kind of his running buddy, joins him. They start taking out SCU. Darby Allin at 4. He clears house. So then he grabs a ladder, drapes it between the ring and the apron, and the barricade, and then he tries to throw Kaz into it. Kaz slides under it. Then he takes his skateboard, throws it at Kazarian, who hits him in the face. He then puts Kazarian on the ladder that's draped across, goes to another ladder which is much higher up, and tries to do like a drop with the skateboard. Kaz moves out of the way. Darby goes through the ladder. Looked like he broke his legs. It was like crazy, and then he was gone for a while. We then get Orange Cassidy at 5. He's asking everyone at the desk how do you win the match, because he doesn't know how to work a ladder, doesn't know anything. It was pretty funny, I guess. It's hot, quite parched. So then we get Cole at number 6. He pushes Cassidy out, goes up the ladder before Kip knocks him down off the ladder. It looks like the ladder crushes his hands as he falls. It looked pretty brutal. Sorry, I just need to adjust the camera. Okay. Then we get Janela at 7. He does a rolling senton onto SCU and Cassidy, goes after Sabian and Havoc. Uses a chair on Kaz. Then Scorpio Sky takes the chair, uses it on him. We get Luchasaurus at 8. Luchasaurus clears house, choke slams Kaz on the ladder, looked brutal. Darby comes back in, hits a code red on from the middle rope on Luchasaurus, which is pretty impressive. And then the big reveal, number 9, our mystery man. We first hear Taz's voice, and it's Brian Cage, who was one of the people I predicted, but obviously that's not crazy because a lot of people were predicting him. Obviously the biggest issue that everyone had was, we were under the impression that he did sign with AEW, but, he was injured, so we just didn't know how long the injury was going to last for. Clearly, he's good. He clears house, goes to the ladder. Cassidy jumps on his back. He starts climbing the ladder with Cassidy on his back. Everyone eventually attacks Brian Cage, send him to the outside, and they start to bury him with everything, like the barricade, tables, chairs. They even grab one of those giant poker chips and put that on top. So he's down there for a while. We then get Sabian and Cassidy at the top of the ladder. Then Penelope Ford comes in. Sabian gets thrown onto another ladder on the corner. Penelope goes up the ladder, and then she takes a swing, misses, falls onto Kip, back onto the same ladder again. Best friends come out to help Cassidy because he's being attacked by Havoc. Marco Stunt comes into the ring with a mini ladder. Janela grabs Cassidy, does a Death Valley driver from the apron onto that poker chip that was on top of Cage. Pretty brutal. Finally, Cage comes up, kind of rises up, and him and Lucha are in the ring, and they go at it. Then Cage power bombs Luchasaurus onto a ladder. Huge bounce for a guy as big as Luchasaurus, so it was definitely really tough. Then hits this kind of what they call a drill claw on Darby, where it's kind of like a sit down pile driver, but like kind of reversed. It looks pretty bad. I've seen him do it when he was in Impact. Then Taz comes back out to watch. Cage then takes a ladder, puts Darby on it, military presses the ladder, and then throws it against another ladder that's on the outside, basically murdering Darby Allin. He climbs to the top, grabs the chip, and now Brian Cage is your winner. He is the, I guess, number 1 contender, or has a guaranteed title shot. I don't think it's number 1 contender because I do believe there's a battle royal this week on Dynamite for the number 1 contender or whoever gets the next match. Unfortunately, we don't have the details still of who is going to be, or how this is going to work. If is it like a Money in the Bank type thing? Can you cash it whenever? How long does he have to cash it in for? I mean, this was a good match, but it was a little messy. I do think that there was too much outside interference. I mean, there was already 9 guys, and then you add Jimmy Havoc, Penelope Ford, Marco Stunt, the Best Friends, Taz somewhat. You know what I mean? You already got 5-6 extra people in this match that don't need to be in there. So it got a little sloppy there, but it was the right match to start it with. Obviously, very happy to see Brian Cage. He's an absolute beast. He's not like any other hoss you're going to see in AEW or even in wrestling. I mean, this guy is doing moonsaults. I mean, maybe like a Dijakovic, I think, or maybe a Keith Lee, but I mean, nobody looks like him. Obviously, Dijakovic is built, but not like Brian Cage, and obviously Keith Lee's a big boy. We then get a phenomenal match to follow up with that is MJF versus Jungle Boy. So they very impressive to start back and forth. MJF does his crotch grab. They do a test of strength, which then kind of goes into some mat base, but they're mirroring each other's moves as they do it. They're doing headstands together, slapping each other in the face. MJF fakes a knee injury to take advantage. Jungle Boy hits a poison Rana, or tries to. MJF kind of holds on, then it's reversed by Jungle Boy into a pinning attempt for a 2 count. There's a huge backbreaker by MJF. MJF does a snapmare into the corner. He goes after the left arm of Jungle Boy. That seems to be what he focuses on the rest of the match. Starts screaming at him, "You're not on my level." Jungle Boy makes the comeback with huge chops. Does two suicide dives and a Tope Con Hero on MJF on the outside. There's a double stomp to Jungle Boy's arm by MJF from the middle turnbuckle once they're back in the ring. Then there's just an absolute chop fest. I mean, their chests were hamburger meat. It was just almost turning bluish. That's how crazy it was getting. Then there's this crazy sequence where I think it's Jungle Boy hits a super kick. MJF goes off the ropes, comes back with a discus forearm. Then Jungle Boy hits a destroyer on MJF, who then goes against the ropes, hits a super kick on MJF on Jungle Boy, but then falls onto him for a 2 count pin. Then Jungle Boy transitions into a crossface. MJF gets out by biting the hand. Then then MJF hits this pump handle driver for a 2 count, which looked pretty cool. Kind of folded him up. Then they fight. They're fighting on the outside on the apron, and then maybe the scariest spot of the night. We get a poison Rana on the apron by Jungle Boy. I mean, it looked like broke his neck. MJF. It was pretty bad. MJF. Back in the ring, finally grabs Aubrey, who was holding onto the ropes, and then what ends up doing is crotching Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy hits a super power bomb from the middle rope on MJF for a 2 count. Then MJF tries to go for his butterfly shoulder breaker, but fails. Eventually, there's a Connor rolls back and forth, and then until MJF is able to bend over, and while grabbing Jungle Boy's hands, making him unable to kick out for the pin. So it was a clean win. It was a fantastic match, but it was clean. So MJF now goes 2-0 against Jungle Boy. I mean, they had a match back in February where MJF won. I forgot if there were shenanigans there. Most likely there probably was. But that was a huge win, huge match. Really well done. Then part of the issue I had here was... one of the things I had a problem with was the match placement. Obviously I'm not the only one to say that. I've seen that as well. It just seemed like the next match, which was Cody and Lance Archer, could have been anywhere else. My notes on the rest of these are going to be really short. Because I'm doing it mostly from memory. So we get Cody and Lance Archer. Lee Johnson is basically the unfortunate person that gets beat up by Lance. But first, actually, Mike Tyson comes out looking great, but also looking a little awkward. He looks physically great, but just almost like he didn't know what to do with his hands, kind of like a Ricky Bobby situation. Then he's holding the belt awkwardly. A note on the belt. Looks all right. Kind of. Apparently, there's going to be more added to it with the pandemic. Apparently the people that they were hiring to make the belt weren't able to finish it in time. So, we just had to have something there, obviously, but apparently it's going to be worked on a little bit more. So he comes out. Then Lance Archer comes out, throws Lee Johnson into the ring, chokeslam him, wearing a variation of a Deathstroke mask, which is pretty cool. And then just the surprised look on Tyson's face was just absolutely classic. I mean, that's going to be a GIF, meme, whatever you want to call it for a long time. It was too funny. Cody comes out. Bryce Remsburg, the ref, says, kind of doing like big fight feel, saying that he went over the instructions in the back and giving them a chance to shake hands. They obviously don't. So then Archer goes for a blackout right away, and Cody rolls out, pretty wild. Right before he gets the pin. We then find out that the belt wasn't finished yet. Cody starts working on the shoulder, on Lance's shoulder. Doesn't last long. I'm just going to get to it. I'm not going to really spend too much time trying to go through someone else's notes because I wasn't able to get mine. So at one point, Archer is doing on the top rope. There was one point where Archer presses Cody, throws him over the corner over the ring post out to the outside. And it was just wild, like just huge feat of strength. And the best part was the camera that's actually placed on the turnbuckle was focusing right on Lance's face. So you got to see his reaction to it. It was just wild. Eventually, Arn Anderson gets involved while Lance is holding Cody's arm, doing like the Undertaker rope walking. Then another ref comes out, which rarely ever happens, and tells the current ref, Bryce Remsburg, what happened. And then they go over to Tyson. Tyson's like, yeah, get him out. But he seemed like he was in Cody's corner. There was a shot of him yawning at one point, so clearly this was live because they would have edited that out. That's also going to be used as some kind of meme. But his reactions, anytime they went to the Tyson cam, it was pretty funny. So eventually, Cody hits two crossroads, kind of hits a crossroads, rolls through for a second crossroads. He gets the win. He's the TNT champion. This was long. It was overbooked, but it was a good match. So my confidence point. I totally forgot about that too. I'll put the running total in after the fact. I don't even know where I was at with this. Real quick, let's see. I did okay. So I had real quick. So from the buy-in, I had 5 points, so I got that right. I had the next match I had was the casino ladder match. I did not get that, but I only had one confidence point on that. Then I had MJF winning, and so MJF I had 9 points. That was my most confident, so I got that. And then, so I was at, I was at 5, 14. So I'm at 18 points total with the Cody win. Cody deserved it. I think it was the right move. I know, obviously, people think that, obviously it's Cody, blah, 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 whatever. Personally, I'm fine with it. I think that it didn't really... Lance Archer is going to be fine. I mean, this was, just a totally crazy overbooked match. Archer can then turn around and win this at any point. He's going to be fine, whoever he feuds with next, whether it's Cody still or not. I think there is still more that you can mine from this feud. But yeah, so we were at 18, right? Yeah, okay. So then we have Penelope Ford with Kip Sabian versus Chris Statlander. Kip Sabian coming out with like crutches and like his legs all taped up, from the casino ladder match. It's pretty funny. This match really didn't need to happen. I think once Britt Baker got hurt, we get an update on before the match starts from the doctor saying that the injury is severe, but not it's not as bad as the patient because apparently she's like a diva, she's a role model. So she says she wants to address the fans on Wednesday to say when she'll be returning. We've heard anywhere from several months to just a few months. I don't know. The fact that they're playing it this way leads me to believe that it's not as serious as we thought it was going to be because, why would they do all this kind of shenanigans? if she's gonna have like serious ACL surgery or something like that. So we'll find out there. Statlander ends up winning here with her Big Bang Theory. Obviously, Penelope Ford does all of her usual, the Matrix moving out of the way, the back handspring elbow. Chris Statlander does her moves. I mean, it was a fine match. It was just something that we could have seen on Dynamite. I don't think that it was necessarily needing of a pay-per-view. I mean, obviously the pay-per-view starts at 8 on the Saturdays, which I think is a little ridiculous. Probably should start at 7. I get, because it's a Saturday, they think, it could be okay. But, like, people, especially like myself, I don't want to stay up late if I don't have to, especially if I'm watching wrestling. Like, if I was out, somewhere, that's different. But, like, if I'm just, like, watching stuff, I'd rather, feel like if I'm going to watch something that late, I want to watch something that I want to be as intently focused on. That way, if I fall asleep, it's not that big of a deal. So anyway, yeah. So Chris Statlander hits the Big Bang Theory for the win. We knew once Britt Baker was out of it that she was not gonna. Whoever they put in, which Ford it was, we knew that wasn't gonna happen. But I only had 3 points on this. I wasn't as confident only because I know that they had Chris Statlander kind of going in the opposite direction, and Ford was going in the kind of up trajectory. So that's 21 points total. Okay, so next we get so Shawn Spears comes out. This one, another one that wasn't really needed. It was announced on Dynamite when Shawn Spears said that he didn't have a match and wanted to fight fight Dustin. Also, just kind of, I got this wrong. Dustin wins, but I just thought it was unnecessary, and the outcome, it just it kind of hurts Shawn Spears again. So what ends up happening is he comes out in a suit saying that he's not here, whatever. He wants the count out. The music hits, and then he turns to the camera and is like, "Gotcha, you fell for it. There's nobody coming." So then the music hits again, and he's like, "Hey guys, you're only supposed to do that once," to the people in the back, thinking that they just botched it. Then, into frame steps Dustin while Brandy is coming to the ring and distracting Shawn Spears. Fight breaks out. He ends up getting Shawn Spears gets his whole suit ripped off. His butt ends up being exposed when Dustin grabs his underwear. Then there's like something on the front of his briefs that looks oddly, unfortunately, looked like his dong was hanging out, his balls were hanging out, whatever it was. And then we get a close-up of it. Turns out it's a picture of Tully Blanchard on his crotch. It's really weird. I don't get it. I don't know what they're doing with that. I mean, like he's obsessed with Tully or something. It was a little off-putting. Either way, Dustin hits the final reckoning for the win. I just want to make sure we're still recording here. Yes, we are. All right. And then, let's see, where are we at? Okay, 20 minutes. Okay. We then get a promo for All Out. It's coming in September 5th. There was no venue announced, so we don't know. Obviously by September, we're hoping, obviously, the world starts to become a better place as far as the pandemic goes. So if not, I guess they'll do it at Daly's Place again. I mean, listen, I like the atmosphere there. I like the outdoors element. I do like that they can get fans in there, both wrestlers and other fans. And, it was definitely livelier than a Dynamite, but it still felt a little Dynamite-ish, but I still enjoyed the pay-per-view. So we then get Nyla Rose versus Hikaru Shida for the AEW Women's title. No DQ, no countout. I obviously got this wrong. Hikaru Shida with the Tifa Lockhart for you Final Fantasy VII fans out there, cosplay. I was shocked. This one was also just a little overbooked. It was kind of all over the place, but Shida was just absolutely just a beast. Just taking everything Nyla had and just completely, just going with it. They went through tables. They went through the playing cards, kendo sticks. It was pretty wild. So let's see. Let's just get to the finish here. So Sheila throws a kendo stick at Nyla Rose while she's on the top turnbuckle. Climbs out, hits a Super Falcon arrow for only a 2 count. Sheeta goes for a kick, kendo stick to the leg, running knee strike, then there's a 2 count. Nyla Rose goes for another big kendo stick shot. Sheeta then hits the running knee to the face, and then 1, 2, 3 completely knocks out Nyla Rose. I think also part of this was that I'm sorry, what was her name? I feel bad that I forgot her name. Hana Kimura, that's what it was. So Hana Kimura, Excalibur does a little tribute to Hana Kimura before the match starts. If you don't know, at the age of 22, she was in Stardom and a couple other things. She unfortunately passed away, for suicide. It looks like she took her own life. There was a lot of cyberbullying that could be the cause of it. So obviously, don't do that, guys. I mean, there's no need. I mean, sure, you can, there are things to make fun of anybody for if you really want to find something, but there's no need for it. It's unnecessary. Social media is a great thing, but it can be really shitty. So it's sad. I didn't really know anything about Hana Kimura. I only found out about this today. I mean, yesterday when it was announced. But just in general, it's just a shitty situation, and you feel for them, feel for her family and friends, and just the wrestling community, especially. Also, Shad Gaspard from Crime Time for when he drowned. So I mean, it was really unfortunate. So people do think that could have been because Sheeta was friends with Kimura. That could have been part of it. But you know what? Nothing really has been done with the women's division, especially because of the fact that the pandemic's been going on. So Nyla has not been able to be on TV. So this is kind of like maybe like a soft reboot. We'll see how that goes. I mean, they have a great women's division, but now obviously with Britt Baker's injury, there's a lot going on. So hopefully they kind of figure it out, get it together. And then we go to our double main event. So we have Jon Moxley versus Brody Lee, the first of the double main event. So this match was really, really just wild match. Really good. So we'll just get to the results. What ends up happening is while they're on the ramp, what's his name? Moxley goes for a paradigm shift, and it goes through the ramp. So him and Brody Lee just go absolutely through it, land. What's his name? Brody Lee is completely busted open at this point, just bleeding all over. Then they both finally get out back into the ring. Moxley is biting Brody Lee's forehead with blood all over it, which is pretty insane. I don't recommend that at any time, especially during like a pandemic. Obviously I know they get tested, but still, it's still pretty wild. So Brody goes for the discus lariat. Moxley hits a paradigm shift cover, only a 1 count, which is pretty, Brody Lee powers out of it on a 1 count. Looks pretty like wild. He's kind of like hulking up. Moxley's hitting huge elbows and knees. He lands another paradigm shift cover, but only a 2 count. And then he goes for like a rear naked choke on Brody Lee. Lee starts fading. Moxley uses his leg to grab, to hold down Lee's arm, and then the ref calls for the bell. He's out. So Jon Moxley retains the belt, gets his belt back that obviously Brody Lee stole. I was wondering how they were going to play this because of the fact that Brody Lee just came in. They were booking him super strong. He hadn't lost until then, but they were kind of fast tracking him into the title picture. But with a loss, how does that make him look? I think he looked crazy strong here. I mean, it took a paradigm shift through the ramp, 2 more paradigm shifts, and a choke out for him to win. I think this is fine. I think the Dark Order will be fine. So I mean, Moxley retains, and now he's got whoever's going to win that Battle Royal on Dynamite on Wednesday. He's got Brian Cage. He probably isn't over with Brody Lee. So, I mean, there's no shortage of people and potential feuds and programs to be going on here. So we'll see how that goes. And then to the main event, where if you are not a fan of these cinematic style matches, my back is still hurt, I'm sorry guys. If you're not a fan of these cinematic style matches, this is another one that you're not going to enjoy. It is the Elite with Broken Matt Hardy versus the Inner Circle. This was taped previously, obviously, because it was a cinematic match. You definitely can't do that live. So it falls count anywhere, but the ring is at the 50-yard line. But the ring really was not used much at all this fight. The Inner Circle comes out with matching jerseys, which is pretty cool. The Jaguars cheerleaders are out as well. Some Inner Circle members have helmets on for their entrance. Matt Jackson, had hurt his ribs earlier on Wednesday, so he had the DDP rib tape. Paige introduced, but Paige isn't anywhere to be found. So there's several referees that are going to be monitoring the action. They run at each other, start going at it. Omega, the cleaner, comes out with the broom. Guevara dropped and turns around slowly, only to see Hangman Page on a horse. He ends up chasing Guevara right off the field. Page looking for Sammy. They're battling on the field. So Jericho tried a juice effect on Matt Jackson. Santana and Ortiz are fighting with Matt and Nick. Nick gets planted. Santana hits an assisted flip. Omega hits a Snapdragon on Ortiz, a Snapdragon on Santana. Hager is going at it with everybody. Hardy drops Hager. Jericho with a cheerleader, a code breaker on Matt Hardy. Guevara is finally back. Guevara, I think, might have been the MVP of this match. I mean, you'll find out. So he gets the cheerleaders start chanting Sammy. He hits a shooting star press, but nobody's there. Inner Circle sent out of the ring, and then everyone is attacking Sammy. Eventually, Matt does a moonsault off the goalpost, off the crossbar on the goalpost. It's pretty wild. Let's see. We get so Santana and Ortiz take out Kenny. Gets double powerbomb through two barricades to the concrete floor. That was rough. Then Matt Hardy, who was kind of he was dressed as regular Matt Hardy, is then drowned by Santana Ortiz, which is a little kind of awkward. Then what's his name? Hardy ends up transforming into Broken Matt Hardy. He comes out of the water as Broken Matt Hardy, the pool of reincarnation, if you know anything about the Broken Universe. He then brings the chair of wheels, the wheelchair. He tapes Ortiz to it. Let's see. He then locks Santana in an ice machine. Hager goes looking for Paige, finds Paige at the bar, says, are you here to fight or drink? So then Hangman pours him a drink, and then they start brawling. Kenny's out there, shows up at the bar. They double team Hager. Eventually, Hangman pours a drink for Kenny of milk. And then, let's see what's next. There's an assisted buckshot lariat with before the pouring of the drinks with Hangman. He kind of bends over, and Hangman uses him as the kind of pommel horse type to get the flip over. It was a pretty cool double team move. So then we get to so Jericho has a megaphone. He's telling Nick that he should have stayed home. He puts the cone on his head. He does a hee hee hee, which was they made a T-shirt out of that because he did the kind of like a witch. So then he goes for a 2 count. He goes for a pin on Nick. Aubrey Edwards is there. Sets it a 2 count. Then Jericho pulls out a red flag, a challenge flag, says, "I'm challenging it." Then she's like, "All right, you want to challenge it? Let's go to the replay." So then they go to the injury blue tent is there, so they go into that, and Aubrey's telling him, like, you just hear them because they're in the tent. He's like, "You're not even supposed to be in here. See, it was a 2 count." He's like, "You're a shitty ref." She's like going back at it with him. It's pretty funny. And then eventually Paige, Jericho gets knocked to the ground. Paige comes out with the line maker, which is like the rolling spray thing. He puts a line on Jericho. Jericho does a Judas effect on the Jaguars mascot. Eventually, Sammy is kind of finds his way back onto the field, and then all of a sudden you see Matt Hardy and Kenny in the golf cart, as if you remember from a couple of weeks ago, where they almost ran him down. He's like, not again. They get him. He then is then chased by everybody into the stands. Eventually, he takes. Oh my God! He takes a angel's wings from like 20 feet up through this kind of platform, wood platform. They pin for the pin. Kenny gets the pin on him, and the Elite win. So the Elite now take control. They stand tall. The Inner Circle is beaten, taken down. Even Hangman and Matt kind of have a couple of moments where they're kind of they're still not friends, but they're not against each other. They're able to celebrate in the end zone. There's fireworks going off. So I lost count of what my stuff was. This was not my best review, not my best video. I apologize in advance. The whole recording thing really screwed me up. My DVR and Spectrum, you guys really screwed me over, but I was able to watch it at least, but I wasn't able to watch it, take notes. It was a bit of a mess. But yeah, so that is my review of Double or Nothing. This is one of my lamest videos, I have to admit. I'm pretty disappointed in myself. But it was a good pay-per-view. I think all the right people won who should have won. Obviously, there was a little messiness with the Casino Ladder match, a little overbooking with Cody, but that's goes hand in hand. I'm excited for Dynamite to see who's going to be the next to fight Moxley, who's going to be in the Battle Royal, how Brian Cage is going to factor into it. Hopefully we get some more details on that. Hopefully Sammy is still alive because he's a goddamn treasure. Oh my God, you gotta love Sammy Guevara to take the punishment that he took. I mean, the guy, he's 26 years old and he's just killing it right now. I love Sammy Guevara. Not as much as I like MJF, but he's getting up there. He's getting up there for me. So anyway, my match of the pay-per-view definitely goes to MJF and Jungle Boy. That match was just incredible. Two young up-and-comers just putting it all out there. No shenanigans there was some shenanigans by MJF, but nothing like real heely, I guess you would say. He didn't really cheat. He faked an injury at one point, but other than that, they were just absolutely kicking the crap out of each other. And it was a clean win by MJF, well deserved. He deserved it. He earned it. And I just know that Jungle Boy, this isn't going to be, this is fine for Jungle Boy. He can take the loss. So that is my review. Once again, there's my social media handles, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff. You can even tell me how bad this was. Hopefully if you like all the others, that'll be better. And I still have my WWE weekend review to do, so I'm going to try and get that done as soon as possible. I'll put that up on the channel. And as always, stay safe and bye now. A little bit of the bubbly, celebrate AEW Double or Nothing. Been saving this for a while. Here we go. About midway through the pay-per-view, I felt it was time. Alright. Okay, guys. Oh, yeah. All right. Toast with a little bit of the bubbly.
pretty good.
Well, this will be fun.